So recently on my TikTok, I posted some videos about 10th Kingdom, and people were really excited to A, realize that that was not just a fever dream, and B, see other people actually enjoy and want to talk about that made for TV series. So that kind of inspired today's discussion talk thing. Enjoy, and please let me know if you remember 10th Kingdom and if Scott Cohen was your sexual awakening. Honestly, I don't know why I waited so long to do this one, but here we are. I'm going to be talking about 10th Kingdom and Once Upon a Time today and their major similarities. So not everything that they have in common, but the big ones that I thought of this weekend. Oh wait, what is 10th Kingdom? Well, for the uninitiated, it's a made-for-TV movie series that aired on NBC in early 2000. It has a star-studded cast that included Kimberly Williams, Scott Cohen, Ed O'Neill, John Larroquette, Diane West, and Margaret, and many, many more. It's pretty much what if there was a magical fairy tale land that came to life. It was amazing and awful at the same time. And most of us think this was a fever dream, if I'm being honest. I will be talking about the similarities between that made-for-TV series, movie series, and ABC's Once Upon a Time, which started in 2011, starred Jennifer Goodwin, Jennifer Morrison, Lana Parrilla, Josh Dallas, Colin O'Donoghue, and many, many more. Spoiler warning. Yes, we will be getting into spoilers for the 10th Kingdom. I will be talking mainly about the basic plot points of Once Upon a Time, the earlier seasons, and nothing there should be too spoilery if you've been on the internet. I haven't personally actually watched the last seasons, so I can't even spoil stuff from there. So that's your warning. Continue at your own peril. Let's begin. Well, where else to start but the very beginning? Once upon a time, these universes were very, very similar. Let's get into it. So, both in 10th Kingdom and Once Upon a Time, there are a lot of similarities in just like the basic premise. So I'm lumping them all into kind of one point here, but you'll see what I mean. New York is the, quote, real world that we see more often in both of these. It's a really interesting choice. 10th Kingdom makes it front and center, not only its promotion, but specifically like in the moment where the title is said, where the trolls are like, the 10th Kingdom, we're claiming this is the 10th Kingdom. Because the other nine kingdoms are back in fairy tale land, and so that's why this is their 10th kingdom. I think it's an interesting choice because it's kind of a really different space to contrast with these fairy tale worlds that are much more lush and like, you know, cottagey, fairy tale-y kind of like things versus like big city, in your face, very different. They also have these secret fairy tale worlds. So speaking of the fairy tale, this is where this comes into play. They have these living, breathing areas where these fairy tale folks are living, existing, having their own lives. They also have specific characters that kind of have that kind of go-between ability, but not everyone has that. They also have heroines that are really connected to the fantasy world. So Virginia in 10th Kingdom and Emma both have major baggage from absent parents. It hits them in different ways, and they have very different experiences. But one thing that's really common is that they have to overcome their pasts, which are actually also tied to these fantasy worlds. And they both have to grapple with the fact that their pasts are tied into these things so heavily, and the repercussions that come from the fairy tales that they grew up on that kind of are intersecting with their lives. I mean, this is why we're really here. For all of my talks, isn't it? The hot, broody men. So yeah, that's the second one. Hot, broody men with a past. Hot dudes, they make us feel a certain way. They're sexy, but they have a past. They love their heroines, but dear God, sometimes they make really stupid choices. So in this amazing array of slides, Wolf versus Hook may be the most important one because the real winner is us. I said it. Wolf and Hook / Killian have made some really bad choices, have been part of some really shady alliances with people, with some really, really bad people, but they do at their heart want to do better. They want to protect their heroine, and they do it very differently. They also both look great in dark coats and billowy tops. That's a fact. That's important to have in here because it's a fact. Bonus point, Wolf does this kind of like, I'll always be able to find you, I can always track you down thing with Virginia, which is also eerily similar to the prince in Once Upon a Time, always telling Snow White that he will always be able to find her. Just saying, Wolf has all the good qualities of all the good heroes in Once Upon a Time. Anyway, third, Snow White. We should talk about her right now, because in both of them, she's a major mother figure for folks. In Once Upon a Time, she's literally Emma Swan's mother, and therefore Henry's biological grandma. She's very much there to try to comfort and guide in the first parts of the show, especially as she's still trying to figure out her own life. She's still acting as this kind of like motherly figure. In 10th Kingdom, Snow White was keeping Virginia safe for the majority of the movie. She's Prince Wendell's grandma, but she's also there to guide the heroine and make sure she's as prepared as she can be for her showdown with the Queen. I think both of these are different Snow Whites. They both do really interesting work doing what they're doing, and yeah, I think it's just like a really cool thing that both of these stories are centering on a ton of fairy tales, actually. But Snow White seems to be like the big commonality between these two as far as centering them, which is interesting. I feel like if I was thinking about like who would you center based on like my take on what I see a lot in media, it would be like, well, I see a ton of Cinderella all the time. I see a ton of Beauty and Beast all the time. I feel like Snow White we get some, but not a ton of, and so it's really interesting that these two chose her to be the central mother figure. Anyway, next, deep family trauma. Okay, so I think this is one of the things that actually makes these worlds kind of appealing, because this flips the script on the idea that these fairy tale places that we think of, right? When we think of a fairy tale in modern parlance and modern myth making, we think of them as like these kind of perfect places. And they aren't in these worlds. They've been lived in. There's not great stuff. I think we've been a little bit fooled by the animated Disney flicks to think that they are not bloody messes that the Grimms wrote. And what both adaptations do is they go hard into the idea that fairy tales are messy and gross. And I think that like because of that too, we also get these imperfect lives that come out of that, and that makes it really compelling. In 10th Kingdom, it's eventually revealed that Virginia's mother was deeply troubled and actually tried to drown Virginia right before running off to the park and being indoctrinated by the first evil queen. So it's complicated and it's hard. Tony and Wolf, they definitely want to support Virginia, but she ultimately has to get over this thing that's made her really, really cold, aka the trauma from her mother during her childhood. Once upon a time, there's tension between Regina and everybody. She's the evil queen, right? But I think one of the things that's really compelling is that it's not cut and dry like that. We find out a ton more about her and her past, and Henry loves her as his mom, so there's kind of this redeeming quality about her, even if you initially like, oh, she's the evil queen, by proxy she's bad. Clearly that's not it. Book within a book. I think this is really interesting too, because like obviously fairy tales, we know like, okay, it's this thing that's been passed down. It's this thing that like was kind of brought into a collection by Grimm and then pushed out again in different ways by Disney. And yes, Once Upon a Time is technically through Disney, but that's a different kind of discussion. I'm talking more animated Disney. The first seasons of Once Upon a Time, Henry has this magical book that tells him what's coming and what's happened and all these kind of hints so he can push the plot. It's a really interesting book within a book gimmick, and 10th Kingdom almost does it too. It just does it a little differently. I couldn't find a good photo of the end scene, but in the final scene of 10th Kingdom, Virginia says that it's the end of the first book of the 10th Kingdom stories, and oh my god, I've obsessed about that since 2000. Where's my sequel? I want my sequel. I need to know what the fuck happens. It's a really cool bracketing agent when you re-listen to that and to the intro for the first episode, because in 10th Kingdom, she sets this up as like this, like you can hear her setting this up as like this fairy tale. I live at the edge of the park. And like, then she brackets the end. So it's really interesting. It's really cool. It sets us up to think there's going to be a sequel that we never get. Speaking of sequels, what would a 10th Kingdom sequel be like? So legend has it, and I will link to some of the things that I found about this, that Simon Moore, the creator and writer of the 10th Kingdom, meant to have the sequel focus on Wolf and Virginia going to the Red Riding Hood Kingdom to help with the young wolves there. There's been many a fan attempt to get it made, but alas, it has not been made. This is like something that I've seen floating around since 2000, and it hasn't been made. It hasn't been, I don't think, even optioned. It's a bummer. I would at least want a book of this personally. Like, even if they can't get it made into a thing, I think like a book would be really cool. This idea of it focusing on Red Riding Hood Kingdom and wolves and all of that makes a lot of sense, because at the end of 10th Kingdom, Prince Wendell makes that kind of pardon for all the wolves and everything. So it makes sense that like there'd be more unpacking to do. I think too, on Wolf's journey, you know, he's gone to therapy to try to stop eating people. I think, you know, his next step in therapy would probably be deal with some of the stuff from home, right? Right? Okay, this is a bonus one. Iconic pixie cuts. Yes, I'm going here because they're iconic and really good. Virginia has to get hers because she has her never stop growing hair situation. She gets it trimmed and it goes a little too far. But she ends up with a stunning pixie cut that she rocks the rest of the show. It totally works for her, from the shepherdess competition through, you know, trudging across the kingdom. I think it's a great style and it's low maintenance for what she has to go through. Mary Margaret, aka Snow White in Once Upon a Time, rocks her own pixie cut with swoopy bangs. And it's just, I think it's great. It like helps her kind of blend in and not upset any evil bitches, but she's still just like, she's Snow White. It works. Okay, so where can you watch this gloriousness? 10th Kingdom is streaming through the IMDb app on Amazon Prime. This is not an ad. I need other people to watch this and talk about this. You can also get it on DVD. And if you look hard enough, you can probably also find links in your own country of like where you can watch it. This is more of a US based how to find it. Once Upon a Time, Disney Plus, right there. You can binge it. Maybe I'll finally watch the rest of the series. Probably not. Okay, shout out to my Lizzie Bennett patron, Agnes Gone. If you'd like to become a patron and support work like this, check out my Patreon in the description. You're supporting me and the content that I make, so thank you very much. I have multiple tiers, and all of them include access to a special Discord server. And at the end, I would like to say thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, and share. And let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more costume drama content, and if you even remember 10th Kingdom, because I posted some TikToks on there, and people are shocked that anyone remembers this was real or thrilled. Most people just remember it as their sick day binge watch. Anyway, thank you. Huff puff.